Hey there, main NBAers and Sunday Night Huddle listeners. My name is Connor Blake. I am the producer of the Sunday Night Huddle. And before we get started with the season finale of season 2 of the Sunday Night Huddle, we have a message from our friends at the St. Croix Regional Health Center that we wanted you all to hear. Take it away.
Greetings, UMaine faculty and students. My name is Corey LaPlante, and I am the Executive Director of St. Croix Regional Family Health Center. We are one of Maine's 20 community health center organizations who provide high-quality primary and preventative medical, behavioral health, dental, and substance use services in our communities. Together, our network of community health centers serves 1 in 6 Mainers, regardless of income or insurance status. The work we do is crucial to taking care of our communities and all Maine people. You often hear about the need for more healthcare employees. Often the message reflects a great need for clinical staff. While that is true, many health centers are currently seeking business and financial leaders who are mission-driven with a passion for health equity. We are seeking those who have an appreciation for nonprofit healthcare operations to help support our business operations. We are currently seeking professionals in finance and business operations, financial reporting, reimbursement and insurance analysis, billing and collections, and IT. Working at a health center is a unique opportunity. Our team-based approach means all staff have an impact in reaching patients' needs and outcomes. By nature, we are very embedded within our communities, and our healthcare providers are providers of choice. We serve some of Maine's most rural communities, so staff get to know patients on a very personal level. With over 70 service sites, Maine's health center network spans as far north as Fort Kent, as far south as North Berwick, eastward to Lubec, and westward to Rangeley. I'd encourage you to Google St. Croix. Take a look at our website for job postings. Another good resource is Maine Primary Care Association. They have a centralized job board for Maine community health centers to post job opportunities to and resources for you to learn about our network. Thank you for giving me a moment to share about our healthcare world and the opportunities that exist for you to become part of our team.
Well, there you have it. And now on to the meat and potatoes of today's episode, the season finale featuring Scott Nicholson, our guest, to talk about world-class leadership. It was filmed in late March. I was there live for it, and I have already seen the benefits. So I really hope you get something out of this episode as well. And we want to thank you as well for listening to all of our episodes. If you haven't caught them, they're all on our YouTube page or on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Go check them out. And we look forward to seeing you in season 3 in the fall for some brand new huddles with Dean O'Reilly. So without further ado, take it away, guys.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to our April Sunday Night Dean's Huddle. This is our last one for this academic year. So we've had a really, really great schedule of guests and topics that have throughout the year, which has been great. And we've got a wonderful finale for you tonight. We've got a guest speaker, Scott Nicholson. He and I met relatively recently. We connected through that magical thing known as social media. He's got a wonderful story. And he's instructed me clearly not to give away much up front. So all I'm allowed to say is that he's a lacrosse guy and he's the father of triplets. And as the father of twins myself, which may be one of the reasons why we connected so early, we know what it's like to have multiple babies at the same time. I think that's all I'm allowed to say. And I'll pass it over to you, Scott. And we're really looking forward to your seminar over the next hour or so. Over to you,
Dean O'Reilly, thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Connor, thanks for all your help as well in setting this up. Hello, everyone. It's really nice to be here tonight. Thanks for taking time out of your Sunday evening. I'm sure you're getting ready for another school week. But I'm hoping that the next 45 minutes or hour are going to be life-changing for you in some way, shape, or form. You see up on the screen now, I've got a word up there or two words. It's called defining moments. And that's my goal here tonight for everybody. If you're not aware of what a defining moment is, it's a moment in your life where something changes, something pivots. You view yourself a little bit differently. You view your potential, your outlook a little bit differently because of things that you've heard and things that you've learned. And I think tonight is going to be a very special night for you guys because it took me 55 years to be able to understand the principles and the philosophies that I'm going to share with you guys tonight. And gosh, I wish I had someone teach me that when I was 21 and 22 years old. But I think you're going to leave here today looking at your future and your future potential as a leader a little bit differently. I want to start by making sure everyone understands something real important about leadership. Leaders are not born, okay? And this was something that Vince Lombardi said many, many years ago. Leaders are not born. He said they're made, okay? And I look at it a little bit differently, having gone through, the last 25 years of my life in corporate business and having hundreds of employees. I'm a firm believer now that leaders are actually built, and they're built by the individual. This thing we call leadership is hard, guys. It's not easy. It's not something that you graduate from college and you get your first job, and 4 months later, all of a sudden, you become a leader. Okay, this is something that is going to take a long time to develop for yourself. And the important thing is you need to be patient with it. If you go into it understanding that this is going to be a life campaign for you, it's going to be a day in and day out grind, okay, of constant improvement, constant experience, constantly improving your skills as a leader. And the other important thing to understand is you have to want to be a leader. It's not something that just happens. So you really have to have that belief in yourself and that feeling that you do want to be a leader someday. And if you have that feeling, that's the first step. And I think by the end of today, you're going to have a nice little roadmap to understand how to get to being not just a leader. Okay, we're going to talk about how to be what I call a legendary leader, and I'll explain what the differences are here in a moment. I call this seminar The Journey to Legendary Leadership because it truly is a journey, guys. It's something that you will never stop developing in, and it's going to take probably multiple positions, multiple jobs, multiple experiences with individuals and human beings. We're going to talk a lot about the importance of the ability of connecting with human beings and why that's such an important part of being a leader. Before we get down the road and we learn some of the tactics and strategies of how to improve your chances of becoming a world-class leader, we need to understand that we have to have a mindset of leadership, okay? Just like you're building a house, you have to pour the concrete and you have to build a foundation before you can start building that house. Well, that's what we have to do here tonight. We need to make sure that you have a firm mindset understanding of a number of very important character traits and mindset skills that you have to possess in order to successfully go down the road of being a leader. Each one of these bullet points that I'm going to talk about now, I could probably talk for an hour on each one. I'm just going to plant the seed on about 8 or 9 of these. Okay. You'll understand them, but it's important that I want you to understand the concept of these. And it's really important that you take some notes here, because I'm going to try to talk quickly. I'm going to try to keep this, to no more than an hour, but I want to make sure that when you leave here today, you really understand, that you really have some notes that you can look back to, because I'm going to say a couple things that are going to truly impact individuals in different ways. Okay. So please do me a favor and be prepared to take down some things that really kind of hit home after I talk about it. All right. First and foremost, from a mindset perspective, live your gift, know your why, work hard, and make good choices. Okay. When I say live your gift, what I mean by that is each and every one of you have some special talent, something that you were born with, something that you love to do, something that when you wake up in the morning, you can't wait to do it. You would do it if you weren't even going to get paid. You need to find that gift. Okay. And channel your energy and channel your focus and channel all of your time into that gift, and then try to steer that towards your career in leadership. And the reason why that's so important is because if you do something that you love to do, if you do something that you have such a passion for, you're going to put in all the time and effort and the sacrifice needed to achieve greatness in that one thing. And that's one of the elements of being an essential legendary leader, is to be following something that is your gift that you love to do. Know your why. Why do you get up in the morning? Why were you put here on earth? It's so important to understand who you are as a person and what you bring to the world, what you bring to University of Maine. What do you bring to your family? What do you bring to your friends? What are you going to bring to the workplace? Okay. These are important questions for you to understand and really bring into your life as you're taking your steps, transitioning out of college into the workplace. Nothing replaces working hard. I will tell you that right now. Life is going to throw you curveballs. You're going to fail. You're going to have tough times. But I will take a hardworking person with less talent over a talented person that won't work hard 100 times out of 100 times. Okay, work hard, have a work ethic that's passionate, and that is a failure is not an option mentality. Okay, that's going to give you the edge, especially in this world today. If you can position yourself as that type of person that taps into your gift, that knows your why, that works hard, and then ultimately makes good choices, that's really the key right there. One bad choice in life can derail your whole life, can derail your future. You have to be so careful about the choices that you make. So as you're maturing, as you're evolving in your career, think about these 4 things, okay? And they will be instrumental in you making a lot of progress towards leadership. Next one I want to talk about, how bad you want to succeed. That's a question you have to ask yourself. What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to risk? There's a story I heard about a young boy that wanted to be a successful entrepreneur. He was looking through the classified ads and he saw a classified ad that said, call the sales guru if you want to be a success in life. So he's like, hey, I'll give this guy a quick call. He called the guy up. The sales guru said, you know what? I'd love to talk to you. He said, come down to the beach tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. and I will teach you how to be successful. And he's like, all right, well, that's no problem. Let me go ahead and do this. So he meets the sales guru the next morning down at the beach. The sales guru is at the front of the at the end of the beach, right where the water is, and he calls the young boy into the water. And they start walking into the water. He's up to his ankles, he's up to his knees, he's up to his waist. And now the boy's wondering, why is this guy taking me into the water? Okay. So with that, the guru takes the boy's head, slams him under the water, and holds him under the water. And the young boy is struggling to get up and breathe. He's holding him for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute. Finally, after a minute, he pulls his head out of the water and the young boy's gasping for air and just panicking. And he turns to the sales guru and says, my God, like, why did you do this to me? Why did you almost drown me? He said, you tell me, young man. He goes, what was the one thing you were thinking about? He goes, I just was thinking of breathing. He goes, I've just taught you the secret of being successful. He said, when you want to be successful as much as you want to breathe, and you have that feeling, then you know you're on the right track. So you have to ask yourself that question. What are you willing to risk and sacrifice to be successful in life? Are you willing to give up your parties, your PlayStations, your Xbox, right? And all these things that all your friends are doing on the weekends? Are you willing to give that stuff up and put that time into yourself in order to achieve greatness down the road? Okay. Next one. Work right now to create a legacy for yourself. So what does that mean? Think about how you want people to think about you at your funeral one day. Okay. When you're there, when people are at your funeral, they're not going to be walking around that funeral talking about the beautiful house you had and the beautiful cars that you had and all the money that you had. What they're going to be thinking, what they're going to be saying about you is how you treated them, how you impacted the world, how you impacted your family and your relatives, and how kind were you. Okay. These are the types of things that will create a legacy for yourself. So as you're beginning your career, think about that now. How do you want to be remembered at the end of the day? Okay. Next one, seek failure and embrace it. This is so very important. Everyone needs to understand you are all going to fail at something, and many of you might fail seriously bad. Okay. I'm here to tell you that is absolutely fine. And in fact, I think you should almost seek it out, because if you're not failing, you're not progressing in life. I could spend an hour talking about all the failures that I had in my career and business, all the money that was lost. And yes, it's tough during those times, but without those times in my career, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. Okay. So a great way to approach failure is actually expect it and then plan for it. Okay. Expect that you're going to fail. Everyone tries to avoid failure. Nobody wants to fail. Of course not. Don't avoid it, because it's coming. It's coming in some way. You're going to make a bad decision. You're going to make a mistake. All right. Take it and recycle that pain, recycle that fear into a positive, powerful strength that allows you to push through. Okay. If you fall down and you fall on your back, as long as you're looking up, you can get up. And this is the mindset, again, that truly the greatest leaders have in the world today. Habits and rituals. One of the most important things that you guys need to bring into your lives right now. Consistency, habits and rituals, doing something that is towards your goal, towards your gift, towards your career, but it's got to be something that is done every day, maniacally focused as a habit and a ritual. Whatever it is that's going to get you to improve yourself, improve your abilities, your skills, your knowledge, your intelligence in your field or in the area of your gift, that is what you need to focus on. And you need to have it organized in a time management fashion. You've all heard of the 10,000-hour rules, a book called Outliers, where they talked about the fact that in order to be an actual expert in any particular area, you need to put 10,000 hours of time and effort and work into that one thing. Okay. Until you're prepared to make that commitment and sacrifice your time to put it towards yourself and your personal development, you're not a serious candidate to be a leader. All right. So habits and rituals, very, very important. It starts and ends with you. Everything you do from this point forward, all you got to do is look in the mirror, and that's the individual that it's up to. You can't blame mom and dad. You can't blame your teachers. You can't blame your bosses. Everything you do, your successes, your failures, your choices are from your own mind, and it's all about you. So take accountability for yourself. Take responsibility for yourself, your decisions, your actions, okay, whether they're positive or negative. It's so very important that you realize that you reach a certain point in your life where, mom and dad and teachers and professors and all these people, they've done their job. It's time for you to take that next step and embrace it and take those risks, sacrifice, and look in the mirror and say, if I fail, that's who I'm going to blame. If I succeed, that's who I'm going to give the credit to. And step out of your comfort zone. We all love to be in our comfort zone. We all love to do things that we feel comfortable with, where there's no stress and anxiety. If you live in that world, you will never progress. You got to step out of that comfort zone. You got to do things that are difficult. You got to do things that you fear. And on the other side of fear is where your success is. Okay? In this world today, there's not a lot of legendary leaders. So I'll talk about that a little bit more here shortly. You have to be a different person. You've got to be uncommon. You almost have to look at yourself as being an anomaly in this world. You got to do things differently. You got to do things better. Good is not enough. You got to be great, and then you have to be exceptional, and then you have to be extraordinary in all the things that you do. And there's so few people that think like this. And there's so few people that believe that they're different and uncommon and anomaly and are willing to take that extra step, that if you can be that person, you will be the one that wins at the end of the day. So very important to view yourself and act like a uniquely different individual compared to everybody else you're competing with, all your competition, all the people in your workplace. you will be the one that stands out above and beyond everybody. I mentioned good and average isn't enough. You got to be a diamond. Look, in order for a diamond to form, it has to go through thousands and thousands of years of pressure and stress, right? Under the ground. All right. Just like we do as human beings. We're going to go through battles. We're going to go through fights. Okay. We're going to go through tough times. But if we persist and we get through this all, you're going to come out a diamond, a precious, precious diamond. All right. So you got to think like this. You got to think like this as you're heading out into this amazing big world that has nothing but uncertainties for us to face. I saved this one here for the last one in this mindset section, because I think it's probably one of the single most important ones, and that's time. Time is your most important commodity. How you spend your time, how you use your time, who you spend your time with are ultimately going to define the kind of person that you become. Every second of your time counts. Think about how you spend your day right now. Think about where you're spending your time. Think about how much time you're spending improving yourself, your knowledge, your skills, your intelligence. Think about the people that you're associating with. Are those people that are successful, moral, ethical people that are going to make you better as you progress through your life? Okay. These are questions you have to ask yourself. I, of course, don't know the answers to these questions. Interesting little slide here. Okay. 24 hours in a day. All right. So there are 86,400 seconds in every day. And those seconds just keep ticking. They never stop. Right? There's 31,536,000 seconds in a year. 2,365 seconds in a 75-year life. Right? So at 22, let's assume everyone here is roughly 21, 22. You've already used up 693,792,000 seconds of your life. If you live to 75, let's hope we all live much longer than that. But if you live to 75, that means that as of today, you only have about 1,671,408,000 seconds left. Okay. And as we sit here, those seconds just keep ticking and ticking and ticking. My point is, every single day you get up, make sure you're maximizing your time in putting yourself in a place where you're always advancing, improving, getting your skill sets improved, and turning yourself into a person that is going to have the skill sets necessary to be a legendary leader as you move forward in your career. Okay, so that's the mindset portion of it. I know I spoke really quick. You'd be more than happy to ask some answer questions at the end of today. You guys can text me and you can send me questions if you want, and Connor can give you all that information. I'm more than happy to help you with any of that stuff. So we're going to transition into understanding legendary leadership now. Okay. I'm going to talk about a story that kind of changed me as a leader not too long ago, a couple of years ago. And I think I really like to share this story because it really changed how I approached the whole concept of leadership. So I was watching a war documentary, and it was a story about a military platoon that was in Afghanistan, in Kandahar Valley, and they were under a fierce assault from the Taliban. They were in somewhat of a valley region, and they were being overwhelmed by the enemy, and the soldiers were taking really high casualties. Embedded in this particular platoon was a film crew. They were doing a documentary at the time. So all of this was being filmed. And so as the soldiers were being shot up and injured, the platoon commander realized that they had to evacuate. It's the only way that they were going to be able to survive this assault. So they called in the medevac helicopters because they had to get the wounded soldiers out. Problem was that the landing area for this medevac helicopter was about 40, 50 yards out across the plain, in the flat plain in the desert that was in the open line of fire. The platoon commander, the leader, only had one option. He had to get his men to the medevac helicopter. So he proceeded to run to the barracks where the men were injured. He'd pick up a soldier, put a soldier on his back, run 50 yards through all the gunfire, bullets flying everywhere. He could have been killed at any moment, could have been injured at any moment, but he just kept running, brought a soldier to the helicopter, dropped the soldier in, ran back through the bullets, got another guy, put him on his shoulder, ran him to the helicopter. He must have done this 10 or 12 times. It was an incredible. I mean, I was just sitting there with my jaw open. It was an incredible documentary. They got all the Marines out. After they got back to safety at one of their bases, the documentary producer went over to the platoon commander and just sat down next to him, and the platoon commander had his head down and was all shaken up, and he said to the commander, I have to ask you, why did you do what you did? How did you do that? You risked your life, you risked your body to save these people. And the platoon commander hesitated for a moment. He looked up and he said, because every one of those guys would have done it for me. And when he said that, it made me understand that leadership is so much more than running companies. It's so much more than power and control and money. And it has everything to do with the human being, human interaction. And who are these types of guys that put their own lives at risk so that others can live, so that others can gain? Okay, these are legendary leaders. These are legendary leaders that will be remembered forever. Every one of those soldiers that he took out of that base will remember that platoon commander till the day they die. And that is what leadership is all about. Okay, that is what we should strive to be as leaders. And it's a very hard thing to do, and it takes a lot of time. But if you can understand the concept that I'm going to talk about here over the next 10 minutes, and you can begin to embrace that and practice being this type of leader, 2, 3, 4 years from now, you're going to be light years ahead of every other individual in your field. So leadership is one of the most important words in our English language. Without leaders, we cannot progress in our country, in our schools, in our communities. Our schools need leaders, our governments need leaders, our families needs leaders. It's so important. The future of our country needs a new type of leader. And the problem is that the word leadership is also one of the most misunderstood words, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is, I'm just shifting my pictures here. What I mean by that is there are words that in our culture today, in our business community, corporate America, in our governments, the words that are associated with leadership are these types of words. And there's many, many more. But words like control, power, manipulation, prestige, money, and fame, titles, rule, self-centeredness, personal gain, special perks. These are the words that the vast majority of the leaders in our culture today live by. And it could not be further from the truth. You, as the next generation of leaders, need to understand that these are not what will make you a leader. These words here, and many others, but these words here are going to make you a legendary leader. Legendary leaders create environments where their people and their employees or their players on their sports teams or their family members love coming to work. They love their jobs. They're fulfilled. They feel like they can be themselves and not worry about being ridiculed. They can raise their hands in meetings and say, I don't understand. I don't know what I'm doing. Please help me. And know that they're not going to be criticized, or it's not going to hurt them as they're trying to move up the corporate ladder. Legendary leaders want to protect their people. They want to create a safe and secure environment. They want to let the people in their company and the people that follow them be themselves. They want to create an environment where everybody thrives. They want to empower. They want to give ownership to their people to use their skills and talents to, at some point, also allow failure. We talked about the importance of failure. Legendary leaders understand that their people must fail in order to progress in life. You know, legendary leaders, the world's greatest business leaders, never sacrifice the numbers for the people. They always sacrifice the people first for the numbers, okay? It's so important that people come first. This is what leadership is all about. It's about people. It's not about money. It's not about fame. It's not about making the numbers. It's about creating an environment where your people love you, follow you, and volunteer to follow you, which we'll talk about here in a minute. 5 types of leadership styles. There are bad leaders, there are good leaders, there are great leaders, there are exceptional leaders, and then there are legendary leaders. And the difference between a legendary leader and all the other leaders is one word, and that word is empathy. You need to lead with empathy. And what is empathy? Simply, it's being concerned for human beings. You're more concerned about the human being, their life, their safety, their security, their well-being, their mindset, than you are about their performance and their output. This is what will separate you from all the other leaders in the world. I know a lot of people in my industry that have authority. Okay, the authority, they're high up the chain they're high up the food chain, but they do not have the people. Okay, they're not respected. They're not adored. Okay, I do know a lot of people that are in lower levels of business, but they have leadership qualities, and they're actually the ones that coworkers will follow because they have the characteristics and personality traits that embody the word empathy. So I want you to understand what the word empathy really means, because it's probably one of the most important words that you're going to want to bring into your life, okay? It's trying to understand people's emotions, seeking to understand how people feel, listening to people without judging, seeing things from other people's perspective, and seeing their people in their full humanity, okay? That is so important. The highest form of leadership is empathy. And I love this quote, and that's why I put it up in here in the bubble. I try to use a lot of visuals as well as, listening to me speak, because I think you retain a lot more, not just from listening, but also seeing on the screen. And a lot of my seminars, people they take snapshots of the screen so they remember some of these quotes. But empathy, it requires the leader to suspend their ego and live in another person's world. And I think that is so powerful, because it is something that is so difficult to do and takes so much time. But if you start putting your mind to that type of an approach, where you're putting your ego, your success, your income secondary, and you be concerned about the people that are going to be following you, or that may be answering to you someday, what will actually happen is you will create so much loyalty and so much love from your people that you are leading, that they will run through brick walls for you. They will do everything for you. They will volunteer to follow you. It has nothing to do with authority. It has nothing to do with your title. It's the fact that they trust you and that they have confidence that their best interests are in your heart. And it's so important to lead that way. The power of leadership lies not in sales, customers, profits, products, services, the building, corner offices, or parking spots. The power of leadership lies in the emotional bond that leaders create with the people. Companies don't do business with companies. People do business with people. And it's so very important for you to understand that 100% of your people, of your employees, of your coworkers, of your suppliers, every single individual that you're going to work with are people. And if you as a human being and as you as a future leader cannot understand how to impact the lives of other human beings in a positive fashion, then you're going to struggle being a legendary leader. Real leadership is not about prestige, power, or status. It's about responsibility for another person's life. Okay, one of the biggest comparisons to leadership is being a parent. Okay, think about how a parent treats a child. They give them everything they need to succeed. They hug them when they're down. They lift them up when they're down, right? Think about how a parent treats a son or a daughter when they're struggling with school. What do? They don't yell at them and scream at them. They give them the tools they need to learn, to get through the classes. This is the approach that leaders must take with their people. So it's very similar. Parenting is very similar to leadership. Leadership is not a choice. It's not a position. It's not a title. It's not a corner office. Leadership is a privilege, because very few people truly become leaders. And it's important to understand what a privilege is. It's a special right, an advantage, or an immunity granted or available to a particular person or group of people. That's why there are so few legendary leaders that actually understand this concept. So once you embrace this approach to leadership and you start to practice it and practice it with your friends and your coworkers, you'll start to understand what I mean when I say leadership is a privilege. It's something you should be proud to attain. You guys, the next generation of leader has such an exciting opportunity to become a transformational leader. And what I mean by transformational is, as leaders, as you evolve and you move through your careers, you have the chance to transform other people's lives, other people's trajectories, other people's success. And typically what happens is when you impact the lives of other people and you improve their success, your success automatically follows along with that. You don't even have to worry about your success. It just happens. It's an amazing concept. You may recall the Cincinnati Bengals Kansas City Chiefs AFC playoff game last year, when at the very end of the game, Akeem Davis Gaither had a terrible penalty on the sideline where he pushed Mahomes, into the benches, and it basically lost the game for them, right? This picture here embodies leadership, because what it is empathy. Instead of going over to Akeem here, I'm trying to move my pictures here. Instead of going over to him and ridiculing him and criticizing him and yelling at him, his teammate went over to console him and say to him, "Hey, look, it's okay. I got your back. We're okay. Don't worry about it." Okay. This here is empathy. And this is how legendary leaders need to treat their employees. This is how legendary coaches need to treat their players. And this is how parents and teachers need to teach the kids that they're responsible for. It's all about empathy and caring about other people's emotions. And notice that there's no power, there's no control, there's no ego. You might look at empathy as being soft, right? As being weak. If anything, it's far stronger than any of those other character traits that we talked about before, about the way leaders perceive leadership to be now. Leadership is not about being in charge. One of Simon Sinek's great quotes. I'm a big believer in the philosophies of Simon Sinek. Leadership is not about being in charge. Leadership is about taking care of the people in your charge. And that is so very true. Leaders have one thing and one thing only in common. Okay. They have followers. And what are followers? Followers are people who volunteer to follow you. The question is, why follow you? Why should people follow you as a leader? Well, there's two types of way that leaders can influence people. One is through manipulation, and the other one is through inspiration. Both are trying to get people to do something, okay? But the neat thing about it is manipulation is trying to get people to do something that benefits yourself, right? Inspiration is trying to get people to achieve or do something that benefits them, okay? So that's the difference between an inspirational leader and a manipulative leader. The people who are following an inspirational leader are doing so voluntarily because they have built a level of trust. They believe in what the leader believes, and they will follow that leader wherever he goes. And that takes time to develop. But if you take the principles that I'm sharing with you today and begin to incorporate those into your life, you're going to be amazed at how people start to gravitate to you. You might not have the authority yet, but you're going to start to get the followers to recognize you as a future potential leader in your organization or in your career, wherever you are. Another thing that is very important for people to understand with legendary leadership is legendary leaders are problem solvers. They look to solve problems in their people's lives. They go around trying to understand how they can fix challenges and issues in their people's lives, because they know that if they can fix those, look, we all know how tough it is if we have personal issues or career issues in our lives, or physical issues or ailments that we might have, how difficult it is to concentrate on your schoolwork or on your work, right? Because we're caught up in our own personal situation. Maybe we need help with something, right? If the leader doesn't understand these challenges, if they don't understand the humanity element of their people, they will always have problems getting the natural best out of that individual. So it behooves them to make sure that they tap into the hearts of their people and understand, how can I help you? What is your situation? Let me see how I can help you. Let me help you get fulfilled. Let me help you fix this problem. You fix your people's problems, again, they will be a devout follower to you. And again, it will have nothing to do with authority. It's all about empathy, guys. All about empathy. It's not about head count. It's about heart count. And it's important for you as a future leader to understand that you got to tap into people's hearts and not worry about the numbers, not worry about anything else other than the individual's current situation as a human being. And if you can successfully help them through their issues and their challenges, they will always be a devout follower to you. And like I said before, you will be unforgettable, just like the platoon commander in my story. It's interesting if you ask, and when I have an audience in front of me, I'll ask them to tell me the name of a teacher when they were in junior high or elementary school that did something in class one day that really impacted their lives, something that they would never forget. And everybody raises their hand. Everybody has a moment in time where a teacher said something or did something to them that to this day they remember forever. And then if I say, okay, now tell me something that one of your other teachers did that same day in your classes that day, nobody can give you an answer, because that one teacher did something that was so unforgettable in their lives that they will never forget them. And that's what you need to strive to achieve as a legendary leader. Okay, become unforgettable in the lives of your people. If I was going to get hit by lightning and I knew that I only had about 10 seconds left here, this is what I would want you guys to keep ingrained or burned into your mind. Okay, this is a definition of leadership: the desire to sacrifice self and serve others so they can gain and become fulfilled. The dedication and commitment to make everybody great around you, make them safe, secure, confident, and inspired. And the desire to help all the people achieve their life's desires. If this is your approach as you evolve in your career and in your world of leadership, you will be the top 1% of the most successful leaders in your field and in your industry. If serving is below you, leadership is beneath you. You have to have a mentality to help serve others. And I think that's one of our challenges in our governments from now. You look at the people, the leaders in our governments and the leaders in corporate America, we turn to them for help. They're supposed to be serving the people. They're supposed to make decisions that are best for the people, And we don't see that in a lot of cases now. So we need a whole new generation of leaders that understands that it's about serving the people that they work for. If your intent is to gain power, you're not a leader. Very simple. You know, this picture here tells it all. Which leader do you want to be? You want to be the leader in the back that's forcing his people and his employees or his players or their students to struggle and do all the work while you sit back and enjoy the lavishness of sitting in a nice lounge chair as you're barking out all your orders? Or you want to be that leader that has courage, that goes out in front, gets in the trenches with his people and says, look, I know how to deal with this. I will carry you. I will protect you. Follow me and I will make you better. That is the type of leader that you should strive to be. People don't know, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's a very simple principle of sowing and reaping. The more good you do, the more you get back. The nicer you are, the nicer people are come back to you. The more you give, the more you get. And that's just the way this world works. I don't know why, I don't know how, but it's a very simple principle that I think all of you need to embrace, is that sowing and reaping principle. And it carries over through all of your leadership principles. The greatest questions you should be asking the people that follow you, or the people that work for you, are not what was your sales today? How come you didn't meet the quota this month? How come you didn't do this? How come you didn't do that? Before you get to all that, ask them, hey, are you doing okay today? Is everything okay? Can I help you with anything today? Do you need help with anything in your life? Do you need help with anything at work? How can I make your life better? It's a completely different approach. Okay. The where are your sales and what are the numbers? That's called management. Leadership is completely different. Leadership is connecting with your people and making sure that they are going to be in a great state of mind always, and that they are fulfilled when they come into the office. The U.S. military understands this. They know how to build not friendships, but they build brotherhoods. It's one of the few places in the world where they can take complete strangers in over a 6 or 10 week boot camp process or a training camp process. It takes complete strangers and turns them into people that would die to save one of their other brothers. Now, the Navy SEALs are perhaps the most elite fighting force there is. And I was watching an interview with a SEAL, and they were asked the question, who are the guys that become Navy SEALs? What type of guy is the guy that becomes Navy SEAL? And he replied, he said, I can't tell you who the type of guy that becomes a Navy SEAL. He said, but I can tell you the guy that doesn't become a Navy SEAL. Okay. He said, the guy that does not become a Navy SEAL are the guys that come in with all muscles and tattoos and bulging, biceps, that think they can, take on the world. They don't make it. The great athletes that come in from the colleges, the top college athletes, they don't make it. Okay. The guys that make it are the ones that during training, when they're at their wits' end, they are spent, they are done, they're freezing cold, they're shivering, they're shaking, they haven't slept in hours, and they're the ones that turn and help the brother on the right and help the brother on the left. Those are the guys that become Navy SEALs. So these leaders in our military, especially in the special forces, they understand how to build this bond of love, of bonds of brotherhood. And it carries forward for the rest of these guys' lives. This brotherhood that they create is forever. And as a legendary leader in business, you can do the same thing if you approach building this mindset, this culture, this environment that is centered around the things that I'm talking about today. This is an interesting analogy. The Spartan warriors, the leaders of the Spartan warriors, they were probably the most fierce warriors in history, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. But the Spartan leaders understood the power of being one, creating these bonds, these brotherhoods, and they created this thing called the phalanx. And for those of you who don't know what the phalanx is, they took their shields and they got into such a position where there wasn't like an inch of any of their flesh that was exposed. And the only way that they could repel all the arrows and all the spears was by coming together as one unit. And the leaders of the Spartans understood this power. Okay. So as a leader, your goal is to create these environments built upon with empathy that creates these followers that believe in what you believe as a leader, and bring them together as one whole unit. And it's a profound impact on how you can bring a culture that might be challenged or struggling together as one. You know, if you want to be an elite leader, an elite warrior, an elite anything, it's not about how big you are. It's not about how strong you are. It's not about how fast you are or smart you are. It has everything to do with being able to take care of the people on your right, take care of the people on your left, take care of the people behind you as a leader, and then step out in front of them and show the courage that it takes to be this legendary leader. And I tell you, it takes courage. Not only do you have to want to be a leader, you got to have the courage to do the things that these legendary leaders need to do. You need to be able to take the blame when things go wrong, and you need to be able to give all the credit to everybody else when things go right. And that's the mindset you have to have. I talk really quick about we all talk about brands, right? Marketing brands, we're branding products, we're branding companies. You need to look at your own personal self. Just checking the time here. You need to look at your own personal self as a leadership brand. Okay. What is your brand going to be as a leader? So 3 little bullets here I'm going to pull up. You know, your smile could be your logo, because nothing is more powerful than a smile when you look at the people that are following you. It's one of the most powerful messages you can send when you look at someone and smile. Next, your personality is going to be your business card. How you treat your people. How much kindness do you treat them with? How much respect do you treat them with? How much thoughtfulness do you treat them with? A lot of leaders today don't even know those words exist. It has nothing to do with kindness. It has nothing to do with thoughtfulness. It has nothing to do with empathy. That should be what your brand is built upon. And the way you treat others will be your trademark. This will make you somebody that will have a legacy for years as being one of the most influential people in the lives of the people that follow you or that report to you. I want to go through a couple little bullets here on, we're talking about what leadership is, but what I call the people that don't live like this are called fake leaders. And it's important that you understand what fake leaders are, that you recognize them, because I'm sure you'll know people that possess all of these character traits, right? They're focused on seeking power, profit, control, self-gratification. They all have an agenda. They are authorities, right? They're not leaders. They might have a title, but they're certainly not a leader. And dictators fear the people. That is why they keep them in fear, because God forbid those people revolt against them, right? They're going to lose all of their power. So it's very important to understand that anyone that has an authority or a title, but doesn't treat their people with respect and empathy, is anything but a leader. They operate using intimidation, fear, domination, ego, arrogance. They manipulate instead of lead. They seek admiration, attention. They seek followers. Politicians are always looking to impress people so they can get elected next time, right? If you create followers that believe in what you believe, then you will never need to seek attention or admiration. It will just come to you naturally, because they will love you and respect you so much. They believe that their title makes them a leader. And remember, a crown does not make you a leader, as I think you understand now. They have to incent their people to perform because their people don't believe in them. So they threaten, they have to incent them with free gifts or more money in order to get the people to do what they need, rather than the people volunteering and doing what is needed just because they want to to serve the needs of the person or the leader that they care so much for. It's a completely 180 degree on leadership. You become a leader when those following you declare you as such. A leader without a title is better than a title who cannot lead. I'm going to go through a couple of pages here since I promised that I was going to keep this to like as close to an hour as possible. I know we got about 10 minutes left. That work for you guys? About 10 minutes? Okay. Look, it's important for you to understand also that you will never become this legendary leader that I talk about until you release greatness in someone else. And that should also be your job as a leader. Your job is to mentor people and actually create a next generation of leaders. And imagine this process of you becoming a great leader, you mentoring and treating other people, okay, that are underneath you with these principles and philosophies, and then they become this leader and so on and so forth. And that is how we can change the mindset and the philosophies of this next generation of leadership going forward in the next 5, 10, 15 years. One last definition that I wanted to throw out as far as leadership goes, and it's the act of protecting human life, preserving it, promoting it, and advancing it. So you can see the message that I'm trying to get across to everybody today. It has everything to do with the human contact, human interaction, human connection with the people that you're partnered with. I threw this in here because I think it's kind of interesting. The Latin root meaning of the word hero is servo, meaning servant or slave. And I've been talking a lot today about how you want to be a servant leader, right? And we think of slaves as weak, and we think of slaves as somebody that would be the furthest thing from a leader. But a hero is the ultimate servant to something greater than themselves. So technically, leaders can be classified as servants. So when you first think of that, when you think of the word servant, like I said, you think of somebody that does not have any power, that does not have any relevance or influence. But the reality is the greatest leaders of our day were the servants. Look at Mother Teresa. Think of people like that, like a Martin Luther King. Think how these people led their lives and led their people. And you can understand the power of this type of approach. It's important, I think, to detach from yourself and think about how others view you. So I want you to think about being in a World War II, World War I battlefield, and you're in a foxhole, and you have one choice of an individual, anyone you want. Think of anyone you can think of: uncles, aunts, cousins, brothers, sisters, whatever it is. Think of the one person that you would want inside your foxhole. And that was going to be the difference. The person that came in there with you was going to be the difference between living and dying. Think about the person that you would want in that foxhole, the characteristics, the qualities, the skill sets that you would want to be next to you in order to survive. Okay. And if you think about what that one person is, and now I want you to think about, does that person, or for that matter, do any of the other individuals that would be in your circle, if they were asked the same question, would they choose you to be in their foxhole with them? All right. And if the answer to that question is no or not sure, then that's just telling you that, look, you need to work on some of your qualities, some of your philosophies, some of your skill sets, because you want to be the one that when someone's having a problem or someone needs help, that they're going to turn to you because of the type of person you are. All right. Just another little quick mindset thought that kind of helps in clarifying your own sense of oneness. So we're at the tail end here. Next two slides are related to an animal, but I want everyone to live like a shark. And sharks have 4 characteristics that I want everyone to think about possessing. First of all, a shark never stops moving forward. And that's an absolute fact. They can't go backwards. So they're always moving forward. So in life, as you're progressing through life, I want you all to constantly keep going forward. You might take one step back, but take 3 steps forward. Constantly be on a forward trajectory with self-improvement in your career. It's okay to fail. It's okay to fall down. Okay, that's where you grow. That's where you get your strength from. But constantly focus on going forward. Never go backwards. Number 2, sharks are incapable of looking down. Okay. I don't want anyone here as they're going through their futures looking down. Only look up through the glass ceiling. If it's capable of you to think it and believe it, okay, you can achieve it. And I think the best part of one of my messages today was the fact that I want you to tap into your gifts. If you tap into your gift and you channel your effort and your time into that gift, and you know what your purpose is, those 2 things together will always get you to an outstanding outcome. Sharks are always hunting for the next opportunity. That's all they do is hunt. So I want everyone here to constantly keep an open mind. Look for the next opportunity to progress your career. Look for the next opportunity where you can become a great leader, to lead people and to incorporate the philosophies and the things that I talked about today. Never stop the hunt. Every single job that you get or every single opportunity that you get is just another stepping stone, okay, to your next success, okay? Never stop the hunt. And the fourth element of a shark is that they are covered with battle scars. And I want everyone to understand here that in your life, you are going to constantly go through battles. All right. There's the old expression, life is fought on the battlefield of the mind. And this is where the war is won and lost. Okay. You're going to have battle scars constantly, but you got to have the will. You got to have the courage, the dedication, the determination, the commitment to constantly fight through all of these battles that you're going to have. And at the end of the day, the strong are always going to survive. And this is the mindset that you have to have going into this world of leadership. The wolf on the hill is not as hungry as the wolf climbing the hill. Remember that. So always keep climbing that hill. Don't get complacent by getting at the top. Don't think that just because you're at the top, that's where it's all going to end. I'm telling you right now, once you get complacent, that's when you start to get eaten by the other wolves. Okay? Stay climbing the hill. Always stay hungry. This is the last slide, guys. And this is from, when I saw this is from Tony Robbins. And I just found this to be one of the greatest little visuals as it relates to life and business and leadership. And especially during the struggles and the challenges that we've had over the last couple of years. But I love the circular flow of this. It begins with, good times create weak people. And you know what I mean by that? When things are great, okay, everybody gets complacent. We're not really working hard. We're making money. Things are going great. So, we let our guard down, right? So good times create weak people. And then weak people create hard times. Okay. Then what happens is, but then it comes back full circle. Hard times, when things get tough, when things get rough, that creates the strong people. That's when the strong people come out. And then the strong people then create the good times. Okay. So I'm going to close. I'm going to close by saying that I know I spoke quick today. I wanted to get a lot of this in just to kind of give you guys a download on some important principles. But I really hope that I was able to give you guys a defining moment in some way, shape, or form. I really hope that something I said today has kind of triggered or pivoted your thought process about what you can do to become a great leader. And I guess my ultimate hope is that as you go through your career, that you work to not only create an incredible, unbeatable legacy for yourself, but you help to make this world a better place than when you guys came in it. And if I can be of help to you on your journey to leadership, I'm here for you guys anytime you need it. So thank you very much. And if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to field a couple.
Thank you, Scott. That's terrific. And when we first chatted, I knew it was going to be very motivating and very well done in a tough environment. I'll kick it off with one question.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have a lot of great stories and anecdotes and direction and advice and you're really talking to kind of the early 20s person.
Yeah.
But as you and I talked about, I mean, the MBA program, we have a good number of students in that group, but we have a lot of people that look more like you and I, right? That are people that are on the leadership journey and maybe have just gotten their first leadership position and are looking to elevate or have just gotten that VP job or those opportunities. Right. So of all the wonderful kind of advice you took in there, what would you say to that person who may be a 37-year-old or a 46-year-old who's just gotten that first big shot?
I would say that I don't think there's an age or a time in your career that you don't stop learning how to become a leader. I can tell you that the type of leader that I am now, 5 years ago, I was completely different. I didn't understand any of it, and I'm 56 now. And you would think, God, when you're 45, when you're 50, you would be at the prime. You're kind of in your strike zone in your career. But I'll tell you, I think that as a 37, 38-year-old, if you think that you know everything about leadership, then I think you need to think again, because God, if I compare myself to 37, it's like a different human being, totally.
Yeah.
So I would say that if you can look at this type of an approach where you're not focused on self, you're not focused on your career per se, the amount of money you're making, and you can build your team with the philosophies that I talked about here, ultimately the success is going to boomerang right back to you. It's just going to happen through natural course of events. So if they're struggling at an age of 37, I think that they should never be concerned that they can't get better, because I think a mindset of lifelong learning is something that every one of us should embrace. I know that I spend at least 5-6 hours a week in my craft, trying to build my understanding of leadership, trying to build my understanding of marketing in my career. And I just think never stop learning. Never stop learning.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know if anyone else has any questions. I know there'll be lots of interest from the many that will watch and listen to this after, but I don't know, Connor, if you had anything.
I guess for me, we're in the capstone part of our semester here, but I was thinking about when it comes to I'm on the younger side of that student population, 24 years old, about to start my first job, and starting to think about like when you're assembling a team, sort of like as a leader, as somebody who eventually will be supervising people, what are some things that you're looking for when you're thinking about elevating people around you, sort of tapping into their potential? I know you talked a lot about leading from the front and things like that, but just about like constructing a team to make, I guess, that leadership part sort of come a little easier to some people, I guess.
Yeah,
my question.
I think it's important for you to identify who the people are that would be the early adopters to a leadership mindset. I think you always have that bell curve, right? You have the early adopters right here that are the first 3 or 4%, and then you come up here, and then the next 10%. Well, your first 2 or 3% are your real innovators. Those are your real talented people, and then your next 10 or 12%, right, are going to be your early adopters, and then after that, the next 20 or 30%, then they're going to be the ones that are going to be a little more cautious. They may not want to dip their toes in too much. They're a little nervous. They're not too confident in themselves. And then you have the back half that they're not going to be the successful ones. So I think as a leader, it's up to you to identify those 2 to 3% of the leaders or potential leaders that you can now groom, that you can now mentor. Because as a leader, one of your biggest responsibilities is to groom and create other leaders. Okay. Because what you want to do is as you progress in your leadership, you're already ahead of them, right? On the leadership scale, you may be promoted, but you want someone to fill your shoes that's also as talented as you are, and that's your responsibility. So I think it's really, really important for you to, and it takes time. It takes, sometimes it takes months to identify who the hard workers are, who are the guys that are passionate, who are the guys that know what their gift is, who are the guys that know what lane. I'm a big lane guy. Okay. I don't like giving my employees 6 different things to do, and they do 10% of this and 20% of that. I want to give somebody who's the best in this particular area of business, and then let them go 100% and give them all the tools they need to be 100% successful in that area that they're best in. So I have all these lanes, and in each lane, I've got a person that's an expert in that lane, rather than having all these people doing 4, 5, and 6 different things. So I think that would be the most important thing. Identify the leaders, identify their strengths, and then channel them into the lanes, okay, that they're going to generate the highest performance for you, while incorporating all the things I talked about, making sure they're fulfilled, making sure they're safe and secure, make sure they have no problems at home. Because if they have problems at home, okay, they're not going to be able to perform for you like you want them to perform. Does that make that whole thing make sense? So, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And maybe you could just give us, before we wrap, just one last, I don't know, you had so many, but one final, motivational word for, people that are in leadership positions or want to be, that you've been talking about. If there's one little piece, maybe to have a nice finale, and then we can shut down the recording and go back to our Sunday nights.
I think that and I probably said it a lot today, but it's something I do want to just reinforce. I think that you will be defined as an unforgettable leader by the way you treat human beings, by the way you are, way you talk to them, whether or not you're kind to them, whether or not you're sympathetic to their personal struggles in life, because we all, like I said before, we all know how we feel when we have personal struggles. And when you have personal struggles, you really know who your friends are, right? Mm-hmm. So if you as a leader can be that friend, if you as a leader can be that person that flies in to help your people or that individual with their problem and then help fix it for them, you'll have somebody that will stay with you regardless of what whether another company tries to steal them for more money. They won't go. They won't go because their bond is to you. So I think it's that human interaction and then human connection that you have to be successful in, and that will definitely be the most important thing, I would say, for any leader.
Wonderful. Thank you, Scott. That was terrific. We appreciate it very, very much, and I think we can end the session, Connor, if you think, and wish everybody a great last couple of weeks of their semester. And I believe if you've gotten some really good advice in your future from Scott tonight. So thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, everybody. Best of luck.